experts urge Filipinos to get inoculated to have protection against COVID-19 and its variants. But there are questions on the effectiveness of vaccines against the more infectious variant. We'll hear now from vaccine expert panel head Doctor Nina Gloriani. Good evening, Dr. Gloriani.
Yes, good evening, David, and to everyone.
Well, some of your fellow doctors in the front lines have been putting emphasis on the message that all vaccines work, no matter what brand they are. Experts abroad are saying the threat of the Delta variant is now a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Your thoughts about it?
Well, that's very true, no? All of these vaccines actually have lower efficacy with the variants, but they still have they still can protect against these variants. So, to different degrees, no? For instance, for the Delta variant and the Beta variant, the neutralizing antibodies have almost halved, no? Reduced by half. But against the Alpha, maybe the Gamma, which is the Brazil variant, and the original strain, they still work very well. But still, there's some protection, and 2 doses are more important than 1. So that is why they say those who get the infection now are the ones who are unvaccinated.
Early on, Doctor.
If you get infection, yes, please.
Early on, Doctor, 4 months ago, you spoke to our Rico Hizon, and you said already that it's a race against time. That's 4 months ago to get a majority of our population vaccinated. But of course, there have been a lot of factors why we have not yet achieved this, no? Yung herd immunity. But with the threat of the Delta variant now, how risky is this for us, for our communities, that we are not moving, apparently not fast enough?
Well, we were bogged down by the supplies, the limited supplies of the vaccine. So you're right. I was saying 4 months ago that we had to race against time because at that time we already had the variants. Remember March, April, we had Alpha, Beta, Gamma, even we have Theta here, and then the Delta eventually overtook everything else, everybody else. Although, as you saw, as the Octa group showed us, we have more of the Alpha and Beta, but now increasing the Delta as well.
Doctor, I will have to ask you this because this seems to be a common concern we've been hearing, especially among those fully vaccinated, specifically with Sinovac, which is the main vaccine supply we have now. I guess the question is there a reason to be concerned in the first place?
Okay, we have only very limited data from Sinovac, but there is this one data where it says that it has around 80% efficacy against the severe form of the Delta variant if you get the 2 doses. But below just 1 dose, it will be much lower, like what you would have for AstraZeneca and for Pfizer at about 30-40%.
What do we make about these reports, Dr. Gloriani, from our neighboring countries, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, where they're also seeing an unprecedented rise, spike of cases, COVID cases, largely being attributed to the Delta variant. Their governments are all switching to the Western brand of vaccines, either for second dose or as booster shots. Is there anything we can pick up from their experience?
Well, of course, we're trying to monitor what's going on in other parts of the world. So each country has its own, matrix for decision making. So it's up to them. But here in our country, we are meeting with the experts. So we are trying to study all of the data from all of these vaccines so that we can make our own recommendations for a 3rd dose. So if we get enough data on waning immunity, for instance, in Sinovac or in Sinopharm, it depends, no? We may have to recommend a 3rd dose sooner than later.
Is there a timeline for? Sorry, Doc. You were saying?
So especially for those who are relatively immunocompromised, maybe the elderly, those who have comorbidities, we may have to start there.
Is there a timeline, Doc, on how soon we will make that recommendation for a possible 3rd or booster shot?
Well, actually, we're waiting for some data from overseas about not just the third dose, but the updated version of the vaccine. And we are also waiting for data locally. The immunosurveillance study that started in PGH and which will be studied all over the Philippines, that will determine the antibody levels among vaccinated Filipinos. May have some interim data by October, November, although study will run longer for 12 to 18 months. So in addition to the foreign data that we will get. So right now, we cannot say that we want to give a third dose because some of these vaccines actually show still high levels of antibodies at merong 4 months, may 6 to 7 months for that will be pa. Ang mga 4 months ay itong mga Sinovac, Sputnik, and then 6 to 7 months data, Pfizer, Moderna. Janssen has 8 months data on the durability of the immunity, and only Astra has 12 months data.
Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Nina Gloriani, the government's vaccine expert panel head from DOST.